G'day guys and gal. Zeal, determination, camaraderie and bravery are words you would usually associate with a war hero or an overexcited Catholic priest, not a bunch of oversized demigod super soldiers who are so fervently naive and ignorant that they cannot comprehend why Xenos and heretics don't simply realize how disgusting they are and jump on their own swords. To be fair, one thing they do have in common with excited Catholic priests is their ability to exploit loopholes to relieve frustration. One is able to relieve themselves through a never-ending crusade, and the other is able to find relief by hanging out in a kindergarten. No chapter loves melee so much and wipes their ass with the Codex Astartes more than our boys in black. They're so unique in so many ways, hence why they're a fan favourite. For example, they're one of the only Space Marine chapters that furiously pleasure themselves through the concept of the Emperor being a god, and not just a very overpowered psyker. Ironically, they actually despise psykers. Today we're going over everyone's favourite gloriously racist chapter. We'll look at the origins of the Black Templars as well as what brought about the never-ending crusade they're currently partaking on. To top it off, we're going to check out some of their cooler characters, and if their questionable mindset is more beneficial to the Imperium than it is harmful. Let's get into it. The Black Templars were not a part of the original 20 Space Marine legions, but were one of the many that came after the Horus Heresy ended, more specifically in the second founding. See, Papa G wasn't super keen on any one person commanding the power of an entire Space Marine legion after Horus's little tiff. So he was like, yo team, let's break up our legions into different chapters and put a different leader in each of them. Some of his bros were like, yeah alright, and others were like, oh yeah nah mate. Rogel was in the yeah nah category. He was so adamant that he would not break up his legion that it took a borderline civil war before Rogel was finally like, nah yeah, and agreed. He took his loyal sons as the Imperial Fists, whilst his spicy sword lord Sigismund took the crazy bitches and created the Black Templars. One of Dawn's other sons was an edgelord or something, as he took some of the yellow emos and created the Soul Drinkers. I can imagine how that conversation went down, like Rogel would be like, my son, what have you decided on naming the chapter you have formed using our honourable atheist gene seed? And then his son would be like, oh yeah dad, can we be the Soul Drinkers? And then Rogel would be like, the fucking what? The Soul Drinkers, I think it's cool. That is the most heretical bullshit I've ever heard. Why would you want to be called the Soul Drinkers? Imperial Fists do not drink souls, only demons do. Ironically, the Soul Drinkers would go on to get unwittingly corrupted by chaos down the track and completely wrecked. That's a story for a different video. The lesson learned time and time again is that in 40k, if that you give something an aggressive name, it will have an aggressive outcome. Please see the planet Armageddon for reference. To cover the origins of the Black Templars, we must first check out the history of their first Grand Marshal, Sigismund, who was so good with the sword that giving him a gun would likely have reduced his effectiveness in long-range combat. Not much is known about Siggy during the Horus Heresy, other than he was a beast in melee combat, and spent a lot of time fighting alongside the World Eaters, adopting a few of their traditions and combat styles. He even became oath brothers with Khan, before Khan became a batshit crazy unlikable dick. When Horus went full bold cunt mode and declared jihad on the galaxy, he first purged the loyalist forces from the traitor legions on Istvan. Nathaniel Gara of the Death Guard escaped this cheeky little prank and was found by Sigismund, hence alerting the Imperium to Horus's bullshit. Sigismund also met an overtly religious prophet called Kila, one of the first living saints with faith so powerful it fucked with demons' abilities to attack her. She showed Sigismund a prophecy he was involved in, basically saying if he didn't stay by Rogel's side, he would die on some unknown system achieving nothing, but if he did stay by his side, he would be super awesome, but the galaxy would be forever at war. Siggy was then commanded by Rogel to lead the Retribution fleet that was supposed to aid the other loyalist legions in destroying Horus and saving any survivors, but Siggy was like, no, I want to stay with you dad, and Rogel was like, well alright then. Soon after, they got news that the Salamanders, Raven Guard and Iron Hands had all had their cheeks severely clapped, with Ferris now a foot shorter, Vulcan getting torch molested by Conrad, and Corvus hiding somewhere having a sulk. On top of this, the Iron Warriors, Night Lords, Alpha Legion and Wordbearers had also declared their allegiance to Horus. So yeah, bad day in the office, eh? Rogel was like, Siggy, I want you to deconstruct the anal orifice of every traitor in the solar system. And Siggy was like, oh hell yeah, hence begun the purge of the system whilst Rogel prepared Terra's defences. And purge traitors he did as heretic after heretic felt the cold embrace of steel from the manifestation of death itself. Eventually Siggy was ordered to go to Mars to collect as much supplies as he could before the planet completely fell to Horus. Before he left, however, he wanted to confess why he stayed with Rogel, and he told his father of the prophecy. Now the issue with this is that Rogel is a devout atheist. Like, it's his Primarch passive ability, the warp literally shits itself and dies around him, hence prophecy's a heresy. Rogel lost his shit at Siggy, disowning him as a son and making him feel really bad about himself. Siggy, being the ballsy cunt he was straight up like, no worries dad, here's my sword, please kill me now. And Rogel was like, shut up you angsty bitch, I'm not going to kill you. Siggy was to retain his rank to avoid shaming the Legion, but was basically banished to go die on Mars. But you know, this is Sigismund we are talking about. Future High Marshal of the Black Templars, wielder of the Black Sword, surprisingly not black himself and the Emperor's champion, hence the mission to Mars was a success. Seems like the big man redeemed himself in his father's eyes, as upon returning to Terra before the final battle of the Horus Heresy, Rogel declared him as the Emperor's champion. Ironically, his new armour was that of the Black Templars, and even had a cross on it, which kinda confused me because Templars were religious knights. However, the role of the Emperor's champion and the Black Templars was created by atheists. I mean, I guess there are violent sentient mushroom men and passive-aggressive blue fish people, so the technicalities regarding atheism and religion within the Warhammer universe probably don't require that much thought when it comes to what old mate armor looks like. I think it just follows the rule of cool, alright? If the armor's cool, it can look however it wants. Sigismund was given one mission during the battle: locate every single Chaos champion you can find and kill all of them. And Sigismund did just that. Duel after duel the Lords of Chaos fell. His legend grew as there was no one who could stand against him. Khorne himself blushed at the amount of skulls Siggy would take during the Battle of Terra, with only one target evading his blade: Abaddon. Many Chaos champions died so that Abaddon might live that day. Siggy nearly brought Chaos to his knees during this battle, as if he encountered Abaddon he most likely would have killed him. Eventually the Big E gets his ass kicked and then hits Horus with a fat Kamehameha and rapes his tits, ending the Horus Heresy but becoming a vegetable in the process. The traitor legions were hunted down and pushed back until they were forced into the Eye of Terror, bringing us back to the start where the legions were divided into chapters. The rules for the newly formed chapters is that you can only have 1,000 Marines at a time, unless you're on a crusade. Siggy was like, okay, I declare that the Black Templars are on a crusade. A crusade which has so far never ended at all. Hence the Black Templars are one of the strongest Space Marine chapters out there, as they are the biggest. To their credit, they aren't just exploiting this loophole for gags, like they are on a full-on crusade all the time. They have no homeworld and no fortress monastery, literally just a massive fuck-off fleet that roams the galaxy killing everything that doesn't scream, "For the Emperor!" at least twice a day. I mean, it's kind of ironic the number one persecutor of minorities in the galaxy are the Black Templars, but we're not going to go there. After a few hundred years of chaos sitting in the Eye of Terror, the Imperium started to relax a bit. Well, most people did. The Black Templars certainly fucking did not. Eventually, Abaddon, the absolute failure of a man, begun his first of many crusades against the Imperium and were engaged in a battle with the Black Templars. Eventually Sigismund, now over 1,000 years old, and Abaddon engage in a duel. Now Astartes can pretty much live forever, but they do slowly age and it does slow them down. Despite Abaddon being jacked up by chaos and kept youthful by the warp spaghetti, he could still not overcome Sigismund. Eventually old mate Siggy saw an opening and he drove his black sword through Abaddon's chest. Now anyone else this would have killed, but because of Abaddon's bullshit hacks and plot armor, he was able to tank a black sword going through his chest, and then he disemboweled Sigismund, but not before Siggy delivered some sweet ass burns his way. Such was the fear and respect that the galaxy, traitor and loyalist felt towards Siggy, that his body was cleaned and returned to Terra in good order, along with his black sword as a sign of respect from Abaddon. That's right, he was that good that the War Master of Chaos returned his body intact. The Black Templars would then go on their crusade for the next 10,000 years, slaughtering Eldar, Chaos, Tau, Orcs, fucking fairies, anything. To put into scale all the battles and wars these guys have fought in, think about it like this. If they have 5 to 10 times more Marines than a normal chapter, hence off the bat, they can engage in 5 to 10 times more wars than a normal chapter. Combine this with the fact that they are never not hunting enemies, makes it closer to 15 to 20 times more wars than a normal chapter. So yeah, these guys pop up a lot. Due to their zealous rage and founding, the Templars ended up becoming hyper-religious in service to the Emperor, which was actually quite rare among Space Marines, who often adhere to the Imperial truth instead of the Imperial cult. I mean, like, they were called the Templars on a never-ending crusade, so no shit they're going to be religious. This does kind of end up being a massive positive for the Black Templars, as they refuse to use Psykers, hence they don't have Psykers protecting them from other Psykers, hence their faith and willpower kind of makes up for it. The only Psykers they get along with are the Grey Knights, as they have never had a single Marine fall to Chaos, and they also have the Emperor's literal gene seed in them. This is a bit of an issue when the Black Templar joins the Death Watch, as he has to work with Psykers that exist in those squads. To be fair though, despite their obsession with Naruto running at enemy lines, swords blazing, the Black Templars are actually quite tactical and intelligent when it comes to defeating a variety of enemies. For example, the Black Templars were able to defeat a horde of Khorne Knight cultists in the thousands with only 30 Marines, as they would fire at the cultists then retreat well before the cultists could get near them. After doing this a couple times, the cultists' battle bonus was so hard and frustrated that they just decided to kill each other instead. Another time, a planet was declared lost to the ruinous powers and lined up for exterminatus. However, the Black Templars quickly made a few tactical raids on the planet, rescuing key data, technology, and important people. They also get brownie points as despite being hyper-religious, they don't kiss the ecclesiarchy's ass. When old mate George Van Dyer took command of the Imperium and went all wacko-jacko, the Black Templars were one of the Space Marine chapters that attacked his palace to end his tyranny. The point I'm trying to make is that, yes, they are a bit of a meme. All Space Marine chapters are a bit of a meme. But to say they are mindless crusaders who charge into the enemy lines with no tactics screaming, "For the Emperor!" is just plain wrong. They are, in fact, mindful crusaders who charge into the enemy lines with tactics screaming, "For the Emperor!" It's a key difference. Towards the end of the 41st millennia, the Third War of Armageddon broke out, as the Greenskins once again returned to the planet, which always provided them a good old fight. They invaded the key city of Hellsreach, whilst the legendary Reclusiarch Grimaldus and a company of his Black Templars took command of the defences. Now, a very solid animator who is also now employed by Games Workshop animated the entire siege of Hellsreach like a madman, so if you want to know everything that happened, then check out his work. But basically, it was a legendary siege that was able to respect both Imperial and Orc forces, something that Games Workshop rarely pull off. It displayed the firepower and faith of the Imperial army, matched up by a literal and never-ending tide of Orcs, culminating in a legendary last stand within a chapel. This story really showed off the human side of the Black Templars, and made some of their more memeable moments quite entertaining. For example, it was essential that Grimaldus had one of his Marines constantly hold up his banner in battle, despite the fact that it basically meant that the Marine was handicapped as he could not use that hand. In the end, Grimaldus is one of the only survivors, and was established as the coolest Space Marine around. To honor Sigismund, the Black Templars have maintained a tradition of having an Emperor's Champion. Basically, one of their finest of their ranks will receive a vision in prayer that he is now an Emperor's Champion, taking up one of the 10 Black Swords and becoming overpowered. Their role is then to challenge enemy lords and heroes in combat until they either kill them or they themselves die. It kinda makes you wonder if a Marine can just be frisky for some Black Sword action and pretend they had a vision, only to get their ass kicked by some demon prince they challenged in a duel in their first battle. But for the most part, the Emperor's Champions are pretty legit. The current High Marshal, aka Chapter Master of the Black Templars, is High Marshal Helbrecht, a god tier warrior and the greatest naval commander of the Astartes have available. Well before his ascension to this role, Helbrecht was able to wreck a demon prince with only his combat knife. After years of kicking ass and clapping cheeks, Helbrecht was eventually voted to become High Marshal by unanimous decision. He cleansed uncleansable star systems, fought off the legendary Gazkul from Armageddon, and was an all-round swell guy, only tasting defeat due to his battle against Imhotep the Stormlord, who was the biggest hacker ever. Like, Helbrecht fought Imhotep in a duel, and despite landing dozens of fatal blows on the necrotic dickhead, Imhotep just instantly regenerated and eventually knocked Helbrecht on his ass. Proving his dickheadness further, Imhotep then said, "Lamau, I'm better than you," and cut off Helbrecht's hand as humiliation before allowing the Black Templars to retreat. Helbrecht would eventually get some square by destroying Imhotep's flagship down the track, but Imhotep still had his hand, so not sure who the real winner of that one is. In recent times, the Black Templar have been more active than ever, taking a part in the Battle of Cadia and helping guide the Imperium's greatest heroes on a quest to revive G-Man. With the new Primaris reinforcements they received, their numbers have grown even more, much to the dismay of the Inquisition, who aren't super keen on Space Marine chapters with more Marines than they're supposed to. They're currently still crusading, mostly against the forces of Chaos, as well with the galaxy getting skullfucked by the Grave Rift. That is their priority. And that does us for today, guys. The lore and story of the Black Templars that's worth listening to. I'll be honest, these guys are now one of my favourite chapters, and I don't think a lot of people realise they have quite a lot of substance to them. The concept of Emperor's Champion is also really cool, and I'm keen to see what our white black boys get up to next. The hentai calendar is well into production with a number of the artworks completed. The quality has been amazing so far, and I feel way less bad about the excessive amounts of money I've been spending on cartoon tits. So if you want to support the cause and see the calendar when it comes out, then jump on my Patreon. Only $1 gives you access to a boatload of Warhammer hentai, and $10 gives you access to the digital version of the calendar when it drops in a few weeks. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.